Hi everyone. Today I wish to speak to you about two terms, which is pleasure and happiness. You must have noticed that we have started using these terms interchangeably, but there are some essential differences between the two. And the other day I was watching a YouTube video by Dr. Robert Lustig. He lists out, the number of differences between these two terms, which kind of made sense to me. So I thought I must share with you also. So he says that pleasure has a much shorter shelf life as compared to happiness. So, pleasure is short lived, happiness is long lived. Pleasure is visceral, happiness is ethereal. Pleasure comes from taking, but happiness comes from giving. And pleasure is normally experienced alone, but happiness is experienced in social groups. Also, pleasure comes from consuming something or the other, but happiness is not dependent on your consuming something, right? And one very important difference that he points out is that pleasure is dopamine, whereas happiness is serotonin. So, while dopamine and serotonin are both part of the happy hormone club in our body, which is essentially DOSE, so it is dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. But the difference between dopamine and serotonin is that dopamine basically gives us an adrenaline rush, which is momentary. But serotonin gives us longer lasting happiness, which kind of seeps into our body and stays there far longer than pleasure. So now the problem is that dopamine downregulates serotonin. So the more pleasure we seek, the more unhappy we are likely to be. Dr. Lustig also talks about how the consumer industry has conflated and confused in a very coordinated manner the term pleasure with the term happiness. And we have been driven to believe that we can buy happiness. And in the process, we are, in chasing happiness and thinking that we can buy it, we are all becoming decidedly unhappy. So maybe another New Year resolution, apart from all the ones that we are making, we should see how we can bring in more happiness into our lives and cut down on seeking short-term pleasure. So, hoping you all have a wonderful, wonderful New Year, and I will catch up with you again when I find something worth sharing.